Hi, you have arrived to Little Victories, the video game podcast where we celebrate every win, no matter how small. I am your host, AndresPlays, and today I had the chance to talk with Aysha U, Farah, staff writer of Life is Strange Double Exposure, about the inner workings of the narrative, Max Caulfield, and surprisingly, Life is Strange 2. Please enjoy. Well, first of all, Aisha, thank you so much for being a part of this. I am a big fan of Life is Strange Double Exposure, and congratulations on the nomination for the New York Game Awards for Best Game and Best Writing. I did quite connect with the writing of the game a lot. It evokes the first game and also threads new ground. And yeah, first of all, how you doing? How's life?
Oh, everything's on fire, the world's burning down. But, apart from that, it's fine.
Yeah, that is something that I mean, I started this podcast recently, and the other developers that I've talked with is, just doing the best with what they have and what they can. That's what art does, right? We celebrate it,
Yeah.
and that's they help us, especially in these very dark times. So going into the interview, I wanted to ask you, and I love asking this question to all game developers, such as yourself. What video games did you grow up with?
So the first game that I ever played, well, I played a lot of games with my dad when I was young. So I played Kyrandia, King's Quest. I'm in my mid 30s, so I
All right.
was gaming in like the 90s and stuff to start out when I was a kid. But the first game that I got super, super into was Grim Fandango. I was obsessed with that game as a kid.
Yeah.
So my dad and I played it together. We played all the Monkey Island games. I had like a Nintendo 64, so I was really into all the Mario games. Banjo Kazooie, I was really into. And then as I got older, big Kingdom Hearts fan, Final Fantasy, Persona, Dragon Age, stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow, I love that because I think that you're the best of both worlds because I'm 31 and I also grew up with a Nintendo 64, Banjo Kazooie. Of course, I loved it. But my previous developers, one is in their 40s and he mentioned Monkey Island as well, and Danny, who's also in his mid 30s, also mentioned Grim Fandango. We did mention Double Fine last time, so I love that it's such an iconic studio and group of people that have, I suppose, impacted a lot of us in many
Yeah,
ways.
for sure.
That is amazing. So, well, after that, how do you become a narrative designer?
So, I always have to ask this question when this question comes up. Do you know what Homestuck is?
Yeah.
So, I got into Homestuck in my mid 20s, and I met Andrew Hussey, the guy who wrote it, and he was working on a game that he needed a writer for. So he hired me. And up until then, I had done some writing on I've written short stories and had a couple of those published, but I'd never done any game writing. And then I got hired to work on this game, and the lead writer on that game had to quit due to like personal issues. So suddenly I was the lead writer on this game, and I had never worked on a game before and I didn't know anything. And I had to like Google everything everybody said. But that was in maybe like 7 or 8 years ago now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen before heading into to Life is Strange and Double Exposure specifically. I did see that you worked first right in indies and then now at AAA as well.
Mhm.
All right. Well, talking about now Life is Strange the series, it has a massive fan base, right? And I enjoyed it a lot as well. I don't think I would consider myself like this big fan. I mean, I do have, as we were just saying a moment ago, I do
Max on the
have
wall.
a Max on my wall,
Yeah,
and you
same.
as well.
Yeah.
But like it's like I'm not. You know how people create fan fiction and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I'm not that deep into the fan base like that. But it's a series that a lot of people love, and
Hmm.
for me, I think it was one of the first series that also showed me that a game can be just more about narrative than gameplay mechanics, and still pack a punch, and still have a lot to say. That like they both have a place, right, in
Yeah.
the gaming landscape. What is your relationship with the Life is Strange series?
So like I like the Life is Strange series. I missed it sort of the first when it came out. I didn't play it. I played
Mm-hmm.
it later. But actually my favorite one of the series is actually Life is Strange 2. I
Mm-hmm.
really love
Mm-hmm.
the Diaz brothers. So that was my favorite
Yeah.
um before I got this job. So yeah, I was like you. I wasn't like a huge fan, but I definitely enjoyed it and it's part of that, like there is a whole subgenre of games that are like Twin Peaks, kind of. And it's like Alan Wake and like a bunch of other games that I suddenly can't think of. But there's a
Uh-huh.
whole lot
Uh-huh.
of Twin Peaks games, so that was
Yeah.
what I would have filed Life is Strange under.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do have. I mean, I'm a fan of Twilight Zone, Twin Peaks as well. You know, these kind of paranormal, supernatural stuff. I am a big fan of that,
Mhm.
especially if you ground it with a very human narrative, which
Right.
sci-fi is kind of like that in the end, right? It's just telling human stories
Mhm. Yeah,
with
yeah,
that
yeah.
twist. But well, before heading into the intricacies of double exposure and your work in it, I wanted to ask you a fun question. Who is your favorite character from double exposure?
Oh, this might be controversial, but my favorite character is Vin Lang. Um,
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, he's my favorite. I did a lot of the Vin dialogue in the game. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, Abraxas and his intentions. I love these. I mean, you wrote him, so I don't wanna misspeak. But is he like an anti-hero or something like that? Because he's
I mean, so he's definitely written to be complicated and not a villain, cuz like he's not
yeah.
an antagonist, but he's definitely, you're not like when you meet him, you're not supposed to be like, "Oh, what a great guy." Like he definitely comes off like a prick. And depending on how much you engage with his story, he might stay a
Mhm.
prick the whole time.
Sure.
So I love Vin partly because I just like jerks. Like I love to write jerks. I think they're fun. I think I said on Blue Sky, Vin is representation for those of us who are gay and kind of annoying. Um, um, and I don't know. I think that he is one of the characters who is the most different between timelines. Like
Mhm.
he's still his dickish self in the living timeline. And then in the dead timeline, he's completely different because he's just so shattered. So I thought that
Yeah.
was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that as a writer, that must be a very interesting approach to explore those different aspects of the character that you can, get away with because it's two different people basically. We are changed by the things that we live, so
Mhm.
that's great. And yeah, I for me, I think that when he when he gets drunk, right, and then he starts like being very honest with Max, I was like, oh my god, that's so
Yeah.
like it's cute, but it's because I didn't know his intentions fully back
Mhm.
then. I didn't know what to think of him, but at least I did see that glimpse of humanity and being like, well, this guy is, yeah, he might be a jerk, but he might be hiding something,
Mhm.
or struggling with some stuff.
Yeah.
So but yeah, humanizing is the most important thing, I suppose. I love that answer. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I've gotten people come to me and I've got some people who are like, "Oh, Vin is my favorite character in the whole series." And then there's people who are like, "Vin is the worst character of all time and he should be deleted from the game." So I think that that is the sign that you did something right.
Yeah, to evoke strong emotions, I think it's
Mhm.
important. Well, what we just talked about, Twin Peaks, Alan Wake, Twilight Zone. I suppose there's something in there as well of Life is a Strange Double Exposure, but it's also a whodunit mystery, as you just said. The two
Mhm.
timelines, Safi. There's. I suppose we can talk freely about it because this podcast is about the game. So there's a timeline in which Safi lives and one in which she dies, right? So it's a whodunit mystery. Do you like that genre? And
I do like whodunits. I haven't written a ton of mystery stories, but I do like that kind of story. I came on to the game when the basic scenario had already been written. So I didn't contribute really to the who did it, who died. But I was definitely part of, like, there was a lot of plotting that hadn't been done. We were like, we know who dies and we kind of know how, but all, like, how you get there, we didn't really have figured out when I came on. So, and yeah, I love mystery. My dad really loves mysteries. He's always saying like, oh, you should read this mystery series and stuff like that. But yeah, for sure.
Okay, talking about writing, I was just thinking about this before the conversation. Did you write any of the conversations in the Crosstalk app? You know, the Facebook,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah?
I did.
Uh,
I wrote, I think I wrote the Abraxas um stuff, and then I think I wrote Vin and Reggie in Crosstalk. Yeah, Crosstalk is fun. There's a lot of
yeah.
fun stuff in there.
Yeah, I love when not all of the lore is just spoon fed to to the player. I spent a lot of time there actually, and just enjoying it. I reviewed it as well, but I just liked the tidbits of information that you could learn about each character and what they did after Max being there or before being in a situation. So I think that was I don't know, it's a sneaky way to get in lore for those who crave more of it.
Yeah, there was definitely stuff where we were like, okay, we don't have the budget to do this plot line. Let's do it on Twitter.
That's brilliant. And it worked. It worked. I mean, I didn't really, in these cases, I don't really get to think of that, like, of budget or situations like that. I try to judge the game and its merits, not
Mhm.
what could have been and stuff like that, which some people do. But okay, talking about Max Caulfield, a character that I think, once we get to know her right in the first game and the traumatic experiences that she goes through, and for many years, I believe nobody thought that she was going to come back, right? There was a small, you mentioned Life
Yeah,
is Strange 2, there was a small Easter egg, right, with the picture with her and Chloe.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it would seem that they wouldn't really touch the characters again. And now she's back for double exposure. I couldn't really believe it. I remember when I saw the reveal trailer, I had to rewatch, like, is that really Max? And then I heard, Hannah Tell's voice, which was amazing. But were you involved in the process of her dialogues?
yeah, for sure. I was not part of the like initial, like I said, the initial concept of the game. So I
Mhm.
Max was already back by the time I joined the project. But we did have a lot of conversations that were like Max voice conversations. Like, how does she
Yes.
sound 10 years later? Like, what are the verbal tics that she still has, and how is she different? Like, there was a couple things that were very like she still makes dad jokes, she still makes puns. We wanted to do the thing where she like addresses inanimate objects like they're people.
Hmm.
So there were some things we wanted to keep, and then there were like, so no matter what, it's going to be a huge challenge to age up. I mean, age up
Hmm.
any character 10 years, let alone a beloved character that everyone has had time to make up. Like, the fans have had 10 years to decide what they think that she's going to be like in 10 years. um
Yeah.
so uh Talking about like what hangups would she still have, what would she have left behind as a younger woman. And I think we did a good job. Like, not
Hmm.
everybody agrees, but I love Max.
I love her as well. I believe I saw a Blue Sky post of yours praising Hannah Tell and working with her, her
Oh yeah,
professionalism and being engaged with bringing Max back to life again.
yeah, she's
Uh,
wonderful. Yeah,
yeah, I can imagine. And of course, I mean, what you said, that like the puns, the dad jokes, I don't know if that's like her way of dealing with so much trauma and devastation, but
yeah,
it's just very lighthearted moments that
yeah,
kind of are emblematic of the series.
yeah. I think it is sort of her kind of keeping things light. But I also think that Max is kind of just a deeply corny person. When you get down to it, she's kind of a cringe millennial, which I love. I love that for her.
Yeah.
as a cringe millennial myself.
Yeah.
So, and I say that like in the best way possible. I think that she's a very earnest person.
Mhm.
And I think that that is rare. Like, I don't think that a lot of people have the ability to be as earnest and as honest with their emotions as Max does, in a way.
Yeah, I also believe she's an empath, right? And I think that she, um I don't know, as a character, her awkwardness, her remarks, her tone, she does a lot of snooping around in this game,
Mhm.
right? Trying to figure out how, things went down and what secrets people are hiding. And you can feel that you can see that she's not feeling well about it. She
Mhm.
she is a good person deep down,
Yeah.
like.
I mean, but she still does it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is the thing, like with Max. This is another thing that we sort of were fighting because we were fighting, I think, people's perceptions of Max or even the perceptions that we have of Max. But when you
Mhm.
go back and play the first game,
Mhm.
Max is a very kind person, but she's quite feisty. Like, she swears a lot. She throws Frank's beans on the floor and tells him that he eats like a dog and to try the floor. Like, that's one of my favorite things in the whole game is her
Yeah.
throwing that man's food on the ground. Like, so like
Oh my god.
she is, I think, yes, a kind person and an empathetic person, but I think that there is a um not a mean streak, but a ruthless streak in Max.
Mhm.
Like, she will do what is required to help the people that she cares about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that also must have been a real challenge for the writing team, because to write corny or cringy dialogue, I think it's a difficult task,
Mhm.
to not like overdo it, I suppose. And also coming from a game that brought us, that gave us the go to the mosh pit Shaka Bra line, right? That is so
Yeah.
iconic. Like, I mean, I think there's nothing that you can do that wasn't done already. So I'm glad that like you
Yeah.
explored that as well.
So there's definitely the way that they speak. It's definitely like it's like there's memes and there's references, and they, like, if we were not writing a story about a bunch of 20 something college kids, I would not write the story like that. But I think that in or like
Yeah.
the to be as authentic as we could to, like, because the Life is Strange series is so grounded that, like, I
Mm.
feel like that if they didn't talk like that, it wouldn't feel realistic to me, and it wouldn't feel like it was a Life is Strange game if they didn't talk a little bit weird.
Yeah, absolutely. My God, I love how we're kind of dissecting the series in a way. That is so true.
Right.
Um, but yeah, going back to another great character, Safi. My God, I was, I didn't know what to think of her, but as the game develops, and as her relationship with Max develops, and very Machiavellous, I think, as a character.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that a lot of people are very ambivalent about her, and with good reason. The way things ended,
Yeah.
there's no clear answer as to what's gonna happen. And Safi is the character that really revolves. The game revolves around her, and in a way, right? Well, I mean, of course, Max, but she's the catalyst for all of these things to happen. So I don't know where did the concept come from, or what can you tell me about her?
So I, like I said before, I was not part of the concept, but
Mhm.
I also, like, I relate to, like, I mean, Safi is mixed Arab American, and
Mhm.
so am I. So I always felt very, like, close to her, and she's my other favorite besides Vin.
Mhm.
Um and I think that there's really no character like her in video games. Like, she is arguably an antagonist, but also the only time you ever see an Arab character in a video game, they are a terrorist.
Mhm.
Typically. Like, you see
Yeah.
them in Call of Duty or,
Sadly, yeah.
yeah. Um so getting the chance to portray a young Arab woman who is so complicated and has so much, like, depth to her, and also, like, portraying her relationship with her Arab mother.
Oh,
Um
wow. Yes, that
yeah,
was.
like
Yeah.
an immigrant parent relationship too, being so central to the story is I think was really important to me, and then also to some other members of the writing team who also like grew up with like with immigrant parents and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you mention it, I hadn't thought about her mother, the dialogues, what she does for her as well.
Hmm.
It's yeah. I mean, abuse of power and also love in a way,
Yeah,
a twisted sort of love.
right.
It's very very intriguing the way it is portrayed. But yeah, did you write about the storyline of the mother as well?
So I didn't I wrote the scene in the diner, in the Snapping Turtle, the
Mhm.
scene where they're all at lunch together. I
Yeah.
wrote that. I wrote that scene. And I mean, a lot of though, like so much of this game, people would be like, "Oh my god, this line was so funny," and I'm like, "Oh, Deandra wrote that." Like the lead writer, she was so she was just so crucial to this, to the experience. Like she was terrific, like the best boss that I've ever had. Yeah, really really great team leader. But yeah, Safi is one of my favorite characters that I've ever written. I think that she's extremely interesting and like a very tragic character in a way,
Yeah.
um because she doesn't really, like at the end, Max desperately wants her
Yeah.
to learn a lesson or learn the same lessons that Max herself has learned. But Sophie doesn't. Because that's not how life works. Like you have to go through your own journey. You can't have somebody go through it for you. So whatever happens to Sophie, she's going to have to figure what Max figured out for herself.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. That is true. I've been thinking about what you just said about Safia, right? Her name, her, being
Safia, yeah.
yeah, being an Arab American. Another question that I had is there's some very natural LGBTQ plus representation, right? With Gwen and Max and Amanda teasing her, right? I mean, we already knew Max was bi, right? But
Mhm.
still, I think that the Life is Strange series is also characterized by threading new grounds with characters off the beaten path, right? Outcast, disenfranchised people.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you can see them doing things differently. Gwen is quite antagonistic towards Max in many,
Mhm.
many situations, and she is a trans character. And I believe that in some other games or media, they're kind of scared to do that, right? And I
Yeah.
think that there is a way when you really know how to portray those characters
Mhm.
to not come off as anti-LGBTQ plus, right? So
Right.
my question is, what was important to you in that sense? With all these representation.
Well, so like I think that the best way to make sure that you accurately portray gay and trans characters is to just have gay and trans people on your writing team.
Yeah.
Because like then it's going to be authentic no matter what. And then like me, I'm gay, I'm married to a woman, and so if
Mhm.
I fuck up a lesbian, well then it is my, my own fuck up and not homophobia. But
Yes.
so I think that the most important thing is just that, like, it's just you need to make your gay characters people. And people are nice and people are nasty sometimes, and people go through shit. Being gay doesn't like automatically make you a good person. It doesn't really have anything to do with what you're going through. Or I mean, obviously, like, being gay influences your life because it's a big part of your life. But I
Mm.
think that it is doing a disservice to a character if you take your gay character and you're like, okay, they're just going to be blandly nice. Like
Mm.
that is as dehumanizing as a offensive portrayal. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the token characters, right? That they've also been
Right.
utilized in older media. That hopefully we have now some change with games like Celeste or now Double
Mhm.
Exposure that have some representation. That is great. I hope that it keeps on happening like that. And it's
Yeah.
the answer is so simple, right? As you just said, hire gay and trans writers, and
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. To end the part of the double exposure conversation, the third act deals with a lot of Max's trauma in her life before she arrived to Caledon University. And then
Right.
we see the motels, we see her conversations,
Yeah.
we see how she deals with this kind of nightmare loop that she's living in. What in the writer's room, what do you think was most important to show and portray in this part of the story?
Yeah. Well, there was lots of I think that when you go through a traumatic event, um there's a part of you that is always there, that like has not left that spot. So there's
Mhm.
multiple places I think in Max's mind, like like the scene, the very controversial scene with in the bathroom where she is imagining herself in the shooter's position, and she is imagining Safi as Chloe, because there is a part of her that blames herself, and I think probably always will. Um, and also there's a part of her that I think is still stuck in that bunker with
Oh,
Jefferson, and
yeah.
she thinks of herself as caught. There's so when I think that when you go through a traumatic experience, especially a traumatic, it's so isolating. And I think that in a way, like Rewind is almost a metaphor for the sort of isolation of trauma, because Max has had all these experiences and had all these things happen to her, but she is the only one who remembers them. So that thing that happened to her in Jefferson's bunker, nobody else, like, it's been erased, but it
Mhm.
hasn't been because she experienced it. And that's kind of what I think trauma feels like something that is so deeply impactful, but you can't, nobody experienced it with you, and you can't explain it, you can't like externalize it. So we wanted to like show like the physical embodiment of what it's like to sit in that. And I think I don't think a ton of games have really, like, so the only game I can think of that also does this is Silent Hill 2. I don't
You're
know if
right.
you've played Silent Hill 2.
I just played the remake.
Okay, well, Angela,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
character, when she's
Wow.
when you finally get to see that the character who was abused by her father and her brother,
Mhm.
when you finally get to see the world as she experiences it, and she is in a burning room and she says, "Oh, you see it too? This is how it's always like for me."
Yes.
So to have like that, some sort of like going through this sort of repetition with Max and sort of having to experience the things that she has, I think that yeah, that's what we were trying to do.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example. With Silent Hill 2, and yeah, I was talking with a friend about that same thing. I believe that, I suppose we can say it, I feel like it's the elephant in the room. Everybody wanted to see, the life and times of Chloe and Max all across the US or whatever. And,
Right.
that could have been fun, I suppose. But I believe that the way they tackled, the team tackled this game with Max and tackled head on her trauma, all of the experiences and like the voices of the death. Right.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, yeah, I chose Bay. Like, if it's like this funny thing, but a lot of people died in that process, or maybe
Yeah.
just Chloe, but still, like,
Right.
there's a survivor skills that was unresolved up until now when it
Yeah.
finally is in double exposure.
No matter what you choose at the end of Liz 1,
Hmm.
Max had to make a decision that nobody should have to. Nobody should have to make a decision like that, especially not an 18-year-old.
Hmm.
And like and it's not something that she's really ever processed. So the moment in the storm in double exposure where she refuses to make that choice, and instead, like when she throws the gun away and she's like, no, I'm not doing this again, I'm going to find a third way. I think that there is a certain kind of, if you have a bad experience, there can be a part of you that believes that this is always going to happen. Like
Mhm.
if you have a bad relationship, you're like, every relationship I have is going to be bad. But that's not how life works. There is like,
Yeah.
fate doesn't exist. The world doesn't hate you. The universe isn't out to get you. Just like, you made a decision, you had a bad situation that you had to choose a decision, but every situation is not going to be like that. And I think we wanted to sort of like, part of growing up, I think, is like your world opening up,
Indeed.
and being able to move on from these like sort of like paths diverging.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, as shown and very literally in the gameplay and mechanics as well. But yeah, thank you so much for these answers. I do believe that I mean, for me, I think the game did a lot of things right. And I'm glad that we got the chance to explore it, at least in some way, shape, or form, because the characters, all of the newer characters, they all have something to add. As I said, I didn't know that you wrote Ben, and I think that now when I replay it, because I plan to replay it, on the other path. I want to see more of him, not just
Yeah.
because the first time, as it happens, that just happened with a developer of a game called Dungeons of Interberg. Just said that he wrote this character that is very standoffish in the beginning, but then he starts bringing down his walls. The more you talk with him, the more you spend time with him, and I think that every person is kind of like that. If you spend the
Mm.
time, and there's more to them,
Yeah.
just like Ben in this case, and Max, of course. I wanted to ask you more, now that we've talked about Life is Strange, more about like your career as a narrative designer. You have written, right, as you just said, fiction and nonfiction as well.
A little bit. Yeah.
Right, beyond video games. But what do you like the most about this medium of video games? What drew you to it?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I've loved video games so much my whole life. Like, I think that there's experiences that you can't have anyway, except with a video game. The closest thing I think you can come is like immersive theater, like the experience of like exploring a space and like getting to have like things come at you, and interacting with the space. Like I mentioned it earlier, and I annoy everybody in my life by constantly talking about it, but Alan Wake 2 is one of my favorite games
Yeah,
ever
of
now.
course, I love it.
And there is so many things that game does that I didn't imagine like were possible in a game. Like, it never even occurred to me that I was like, you can do this, it's legal. You can just put a whole live action musical number into your video game
Of
legally.
course, yeah.
You can do anything in
Herald
Finland.
of Darkness, let's go.
Yeah. So I don't know, just like, they're the things that inspire me the most. Like, I feel the most like energized, like creatively, by video games. Um and I think that they're becoming such an art form. I mean, they have been for a long time, but
Mhm.
they're they can be, I think, so just like immersive and great for getting people to care about your story. And I think that that's like one of the reasons that like gamers as a group are considered so enthusiastic, and sometimes positive and negative. And I
Uh-huh.
think it's because when you play a character, like, it's like you are participating, so you feel ownership over the experience in a way that you don't when you like read a book or watch a movie. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's just, there really isn't another kind of art that is the same kind of experience.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I do believe that it's an art form. All these years that I've created this persona that I have on social media as AndresPlays, it's just these. I've been moved by such beautiful games like Harold Halibut or Celeste, as I
Mhm.
said, Season, Alert to the Future. Of course, Life is a Strange series, all of it. You mentioned Life is Strange too. I, of course, bawled my eyes out. I'm from Mexico. I've been mistreated when I've traveled over
Yeah.
to the US, and to see the raw scenes of
Sean.
yeah, how he's mistreated like that,
Yeah.
it breaks your heart. But it's not like if you see it in a movie,
Mhm.
you have the control in your hands, and you feel the impotence of not being able to
Yeah.
do it, like you're in that scene as well. So
Yeah, the thing in that game that I think is extremely effective is the part where you're in the like the grocery store, like the little like convenience store, and
Mhm.
whether or not you steal anything, that white guy comes and he's like, you stole something, I'm calling ICE. And it's like, so like, this is the like this it like puts you in the experience, because you're like, I didn't do anything. But like, and that and like, I think so. My theory about Life is Strange 2 is that if it had come out like 3 years later, it would have been a much bigger hit. I think that it was a little bit early.
Right.
Because like, I think that in 2018 when it came out, I think people were still very much in the this is not who we are sort of like resistance thing, and people were like, oh, this doesn't happen, this is gratuitous or whatever. But I feel like that if this game were to come out now, for instance, I think that it's like, yes, it like this is exactly like what America is like. And I'd never seen anything so unflinchingly look at like the experience of being mixed race and interacting with your white family. Like that was so well done too. Like you, like the things that his grandparents say to him that are just like, well, I don't know how your father raised you. And just like these things where you can tell that like they love Sean and Daniel, but they just say these little things that it's like, and you can like find your grandpa's MAGA hat, and you can go online and see like the posts he's making on Reddit, and you can like, I don't know, I thought it was so well observed.
Yeah, it's quite crazy now that you mention it. It's very timely, especially nowadays with what you said that's been happening in the US. And as we said in the beginning, we are living indeed in very scary times. But to see that portrayed in a game like that, I believe it at least helps alleviate some of the madness that is out there, and some validation as well for the people that are suffering through these very difficult situations as well.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't want to take any much of your time, but I wanted to say that I've been listening to a couple of your podcasts. I listened to the one with Silent Hill 2, actually. Very fun, but also very nuanced. Of course,
Thank you.
The topics were very deep, and the newest one that you made, the Elden Ring one. Yeah, I am learning a lot as well. Like I did not read any of the item descriptions.
Well, yeah, I learned so much. I just recorded a new one about Vare and Moog and stuff, and I've learned so many things. I'm so excited for everybody else to learn with me. Yeah. Oh, if listeners don't know, I have a podcast called All Your Maidens, which is a podcast where people come on and explain Elden Ring lore to me.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's very entertaining, and like it feels like we are all learning at the same time. So I think that's capturing that feeling is very fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Aysha, for your time. I come away from this looking at the game in a different light, much deeper than I initially thought, and I hope that the people who listen to this conversation will as well. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Aysha for this insightful conversation, and to you for watching and or listening. I'll see you in the next one.